Hey everyone, Derek here from WayScript. In this one, let's take a look at how we can save values in between executions of our WayScript programs. Let's get started. Starting out, this used to be slightly more difficult before the file system, but now that we have files, we can store values in those and read and write them in the same execution of our program. Let's do this with a JSON file. Let's say that we want to create a website that has a counter on it. What we can do is each time a user goes to our URL, we can add in a new number to a saved value in a file. So what we need to do is we need to read that value in, and we need to write that value back. So that's why we have two different modules to work with the same file in the same flow. Now let's go ahead and create that JSON file. We'll click on View Files. We'll go down to where your program is in our file manager, and we can click on these three dots to the right of it and select New File. Once we do that, I'll call this one sample.json and click Add. Now that this file is here, what we can do is click on it and we'll put in a default. We'll do something like runs, and we'll set it as a default value of 0. We'll override this with each time that a user goes to our endpoint. We'll click on Exit Edit Code Mode. So now we need to set this one up to read that file. We'll select the file from our file browser. Mine is here. And we need to be sure to write back to that same file each time. What I'll do to increment it is a brief little Python step. So we'll pull that in, and I already have some code written for us. So we'll just go over to GitHub and get that. I'll be sure to link this in the description if you want to use the same thing. All right, and all we're doing in this is just incrementing that runs value that we set up by 1 each time we execute this. We execute this every time someone goes to our trigger. Now we need to write that value back. So in that second JSON module, we'll write file, and we'll go down and choose that same file, sample.json. The variable that we'll write comes from this Python step called JSON. We'll just put an HTTP response and pull that struct into that response. That way we can see it. When we activate our trigger and we go to that URL, we should get back that runs and the amount in that JSON. We'll give it a few seconds to load because we are doing an execution, and we don't get back anything. Let's see what's going on. If we're not getting back anything, that means our HTTP response needs this JSON value dropped inside. And now let's try that again. At this point, every time that a user goes to this URL, our runs will increment by 1. And that's how we can save values in between executions of our WayScript programs.